for a prescribed period.
Honorable MWENJE.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that aware that lack of access to ownership of productive assets, in particular to land, is one of the very serious sources of economic and social insecurity for Kenyans. Further aware that many communities, particularly in rural areas and informal settlements in urban areas, depend on land for their production and livelihood, and therefore landlessness affects their ability to secure basic needs such as food, clothing, and shelter. Concerned that for the urban low-income dwellers, the only way of accessing land to put up their dwellings has been to take up residence on land that is unfit for human habitation. Aware that the Bill of Rights in Chapter 4 of the Constitution guarantees every citizen the right to adequate housing and reasonable standards of sanitation, noting that there are many squatters that have settled on land that belongs to either absentee landlords and adjudicated land, public land, or community land for long periods of time, with some disputed, with others undisputed. Concerned that the issue of land settlement in many urban areas, particularly in the informal settlements, has remained unresolved, with numerous persons remaining squatters. Further aware that Section 7 of the Limitation of Actions Act 2010 provides for the right to claim for settlement on certain land after the prescribed period, recognizing the need for the Ministry of Lands to hasten the process of identifying parcels of land occupied by squatters where there are no disputes from any parties. This House resolves that the government develops and implements a policy for voluntary regularization of land occupied by squatters for a prescribed period, including negotiations for financial settlements across the country to address the challenges facing the said squatters. Honorable Speaker, this motion, to summarize, is purely about regularization. Honorable Speaker, let us look at the value of land. It is the golden child of investment in this country. When our forebears fought for independence, they were fighting for land and self-rule. That was the main issue. Wealth in our country is attached to land. We all know it. And it secures livelihoods. And we must look, why does land evoke such emotions in our country? Because it's a measure of wealth. I'm presenting the motion, Honorable Speaker. I wonder why, I don't know.
Honorable Dikiri, what's out of order? The motion
is supposed to lead us as it is, and thereafter, then we can tender.
What is out of order?
Because he's debating.
That's what he did. The motion is his. He has done the right thing. He has presented the motion and is now moving the motion. That's how it's done. Resume your
I stand corrected.
Resume your seat, Honorable Dikiri. Go ahead, Honorable MWENJE. Don't allow Honorable Kirima to keep misleading.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think the Honorable Dikiri is just taking a jibe at me. And I'm just presenting the motion into context to allow for debate.
It can't be allowed to bully you at all.
Honorable Speaker, land it secures. It's all about food security. It causes conflicts between communities. It gives communities identity. And for us as Africans, land is all about personhood and giving us our full humanity as an African. Honorable Speaker, allow me to just note some points from the National Land Policy of 2009, a document that has been brought before this House, that it provides that the National Land Policy is supposed to guide the country towards efficient, sustainable, and equitable use of land for prosperity and posterity. The overall objective of the land policy is to secure rights over land and provide sustainable growth, investment, reduction of property. Those are the issues that have been highlighted in this policy, Honorable Speaker. And all citizens must have the opportunity to occupy land, to do economically viable projects on this land, and we need efficient and effective operation of land markets. and transparent land dispute resolution mechanisms, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the issue of informal settlements, the national policy states, and I quote, the essence of informal or spontaneous or squatter settlements is the absence of security and tenure of planning, Honorable Speaker. This same land policy, in order to address the challenges of informal settlement, has said we take an inventory of the genuine squatters, determine the land occupied by these squatters, establish appropriate mechanisms for removal of squatters and their subsequent resettlement, planning for land and finding that is found to be suitable for human settlement, ensure that informal settlement is developed in an orderly manner. Honorable Speaker, I want to emphasize on the three next points under this national land policy. Facilitate negotiation between private owners and squatters in cases of squatter settlements found on private land. Another point under the national land policy is facilitate the regularization of existing squatter settlements found on public and community land for purposes of upgrading development. And another key one, establish a legal framework and procedures for transferring unutilized land belonging to absentee landowners to squatters and people living in informal settlements. Honorable Speaker, this motion, I brought it because 40% of land is unadjudicated. The government hasn't come up with a regularization plan. And sometime, Honorable Speaker, I hope to bring a bill that will substantively deal with this issue, Honorable Speaker. There are over 1 million who are residing on land that either belongs to absentee landlords or unadjudicated land, public land, or community land. It is also worth noting that there are settlements where the occupants and the owners of the title have ongoing disputes, and there is room for negotiation to discuss some of these matters, Honorable Speaker. There are court orders that cannot be implemented. You cannot evict some of these people. They've developed, they've stayed there for years. The demolitions that have been done have been inhumane. Honorable Speaker, we talk about inadequate housing, and yet we want to demolish, and our failure to regularize it will lead to that inadequate housing, especially for us in Nairobi. It has given conmen the advantage of the chance to con people who are trying to get the title deeds of some of this land, and the use of that land has been ineffective. Honorable Speaker, this motion shall have some benefits, Honorable Speaker. The government shall be able to issue more titles, create wealth. We shall have tripartite regularization, where you have the owner, the occupant, and the government to check that that has been done properly. County shall collect more rates, Honorable Speaker. The government shall be able to collect more taxes. We shall sort the issue of housing. We shall prevent uncontrolled development, Honorable Speaker. Sewage and water, Honorable Speaker, which is a problem for us in Nairobi. We shall be able to sort that out under this motion once passed. We shall stop demolitions. And Honorable Speaker, the President himself guaranteed that he does not want to see demolitions. Let us not forget how it was in 2016, 2017 to 2018, when we saw all manners of demolitions going on, especially in the Eastlands area. This must come to an end, Honorable Speaker. It shall discourage land invasion, because this is for a prescribed period and people will know there is nothing for free, Honorable Speaker. We shall be able to do roads, new towns shall come up, public utilities and schools and hospitals will be provided for, because as long as we are regularizing, we must provide for the public utilities that are required, Honorable Speaker. And we shall be able to reduce the court workload and encourage out-of-court settlements, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, demolitions, which is one of the issues that plagues our country here in Nairobi, have led to loss of life and property. We have a chance to stop that with this motion, Honorable Speaker. The court cases are there. They've been there for 20, 30, 40 years, and they will never recover that land, Honorable Speaker. One court order that I saw, the police requested, in order to do the demolitions, they need 3,000 police officers to be able to evict close to 20,000 people. It is impossible. It will never happen. But we have a chance here through regularization to sort that issue, Honorable Speaker. We must be brave to face this problem. Let us not postpone this problem. Every government that has come before has postponed this problem. Honorable Speaker, I have a ward in Molem where 60% is land that is unadjudicated, yet it is one of the most populous wards in this city, in Nairobi. I have a ward called Karubangi South. I have another village called Alexin that we need them regularized and given their title, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Embakasi West constituency, Embakasi constituency, Honorable Speaker, and I'm hoping you'll add me some 3 minutes, Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, that...
Seconds, member.
Honorable Speaker, I just need to emphasize this point, that the late Embakasi gave birth to 6 constituencies, courtesy of the late Mauri Moshiri, the late MWENJE, and Waitito. We need to solve these issues, Honorable Speaker. We sort the land problems once and for all. The President promised to support.
Can conclude.
Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, we are looking for a win-win solution for everyone. That is the purpose of this motion. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move, and I ask the Honorable Maungu to second this motion. Thank you.
Honorable Maungu.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity that I have this morning to second this all-important motion.